everybody to our public meeting for Thursday, July 20th. Annie, would you do a roll call?
Online, it looks like we have Cheryl Hartman, Jackson Lee, Jason Emery, Kyle Leonard, Melissa Fisher, Juanita Vero, and M. Katz. In 206, we have Commissioner Slotnick and Hughes, Chris Lounsbury, Brian West, Allison France, Emmy Bristow, Erin Cow, I'm just drawing a blank right now, and Annie Kathy.
Thanks.
Drawing a blank.
That's okay.
Thanks, Annie.
It happened. You gotta love me.
So do we have any public comment on items not on the agenda? Some public comment. Can I be a public comment?
Of course.
So yesterday afternoon, I was fortunate enough to do a brief tour of our temporary safe outdoor space. And it was moving to see how successful a project that is. The place was clean, quiet, predictable, stable, felt like I was visiting a tiny little neighborhood, because that's actually, in fact, what it is. And April Seat, the on-site director, sent me some statistics afterwards. Share a few of these things. They've served 43 folks in the last 30 days. More than half of the people there right now are employed or have some other source of income. And they've initiated a program for people who, I think the technical word is unbanked, people who have no place to put money. And they've created a program within Hope Rescue Mission as part of the TSOS to help people save money and get them set up to live in housing and be leaseholders. It was just super moving. And we are all partners in that. It was really moving to see our fingerprints. Missoula County's fingerprints are all over that. A whole bunch of staff members are on that. Then I walked from there over to the Trinity site and visited a new building called the Maple Street Flats, and got to go on a tour with prospective tenants. So I wasn't posing as a tenant, but no one asked me if I was. Again, moved by real success. Beautiful building, beautiful apartments, nice natural light. Everybody had access to a little balcony. There's multiple bedroom units, which is unusual in housing that's set for people, according to people's incomes. These will all be leased up really quickly. Again, another project that's not it's both successful and has our fingerprints all over it. It was really good to see both of those things. It's great. It was great. Yeah.
Oh, so great, Josh. Thanks for sharing that. And I haven't been to Maple Street Flats, but TSOS 2 is awesome, and couldn't agree more.
Two members of our equity team were along for the ride with me on this. Elisha and Roz were both there too. Great. Okay, we have a consent agenda. Is there anything on this consent agenda anyone would like to pull out and talk about?
I'd move to approve the consent agenda.
All right, I'll second that. And again, ask for more public comment. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you. All right, Erin, you are up next.
Yes, and I actually have the first two items, but the first is a little bit of a retroactive action item. Requesting the board to approve the chair to sign the HART grant contract with DPHHS's EHDD in the amount of a little over $560. Okay. And this provides behavioral health services in the jail, and it's part of Governor Gianforte's HART grant initiative. It's funding that comes from the legalization of marijuana sales. And so this contract actually was sent through DocuSign last October, which we didn't catch. It automatically went to the commissioners. It got signed, and I kind of missed it. I didn't know that the state had sent it. And then I recently got a contract amendment from the state, changing a few things. And then that's when I realized it had already come through. And that's the second item, to sign the contract amendment number 1 for the same program. And the contract amendment isn't changing anything big. It's just changing some of the sources of the funds that the state is using to pull from for those funds. They have a new program manager within the state, so it changes the contact name and things like that. But it funds, so this funding, just as a side note, funds 2 of the therapists in the jail, the care coordinator, and initially we were going to fund a jail mental health transport officer, but the state declined to fund that, but they are funding some training funds. And the team did just go to Washington, D.C. last week to go to the NCCHC Correctional Mental Health Care Conference. And so they got to meet with other, people in a similar field and learn from them. So, yeah.
Good, thanks.
Can we take 1 and 2 together, or should they be separated?
You can take them together. Yeah.
Great. 1 and 2 together.
I move to approve 1 and 2.
All right, any public comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Jackson on?
Yes.
There he is.
Yeah, so before you this morning, we have a contract with ProSweep. The scope of the project is pavement preservation on the Piltsville Trail from Bonner to Tura. And if awarded, the contract would allow us to do long-term maintenance needs along that trail and fill the cracks and seal the trail surface. And the project would be concluded by this fall. But once the contract is signed, we would start in with ProSweep on scheduling out the project for this summer.
Awesome.
And so ProSweep will do not just sweeping, but all the filling and the resealing and everything?
Yeah, they do all the pavement preservation activities, including, the crack filling, seal coating, and there's some larger cracks on that path currently, so there'll be some pavement patching going on as well. But the goal of the project overall is to restore it back to its original specifications and surfacing.
Have you had your longboard out there or your rollerblades?
No, I have not. Because I don't own either yet, but it's on the list.
Well, I move to approve the contract.
I'll second this. And is there any public comment on this? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Thanks, Jackson.
Yeah, thank you.
So, Chris.
Yeah, so I'm covering the next 2 items for Sheriff Peterson. So the first one that you have before you is the annual cooperative agreement with the Forest Service. This allows the deputies to do extra patrols on Forest Service lands. The Forest Service pays the county for those extra patrols, but it helps them to cover areas like Blue Mountain, various parts of the Lolo National Forest, up through the Blackfoot, and up into Sealy Lake. This particular piece, 49% of the funds that come in are used to help cover equipment for search and rescue, and then the other 51% is used to cover salaries that are used by the deputies doing those extra patrols. Really important around things like 4th of July, Labor Day weekend, those kinds of things when we have lots of folks recreating on public lands.
Great, thanks.
Hey, Chris, we were required to just do an annual, or is there any advantage to a longer agreement?
So in this case, the Forest Service is the one who requires it to be done annually, and it's because it comes with that funding component, and so they have to do it based off what they're allocated for.
Gotcha. I move to, can we take them together? Or
We can, if you'd like me to cover the second one.
Yeah.
So the second one really is more of an update. So the Forest Service provides us with a list of the Forest Service law enforcement officers who will be working in Missoula County. As part of that, then the Sheriff's Department allows those officers to enforce state law and Sheriff's Department policies while they're working in Missoula County. This is really critical in the area of like Sealy Lake, where if you think about it, Forest Service has numerous campgrounds up there, and this allows them to enforce not only Forest Service laws, but also local laws for folks that they come across. Also allows them to help our deputies should they need assistance when they're out on a call, and the reverse is also true. Our deputies assist them. So this is the cooperative agreement that allows that kind of exchange of law enforcement services between the two entities. So this year, it's just an update to that, to update the list of the names of the officers that'll be providing those services in Missoula County.
Great. I move to approve items 4 and 5.
All right, any public comment? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we do have some correspondence.
Yeah, and I think Slavin is on to discuss it.
Hey, Slavin.
Hi, everyone. How are you?
Good, how are you doing?
Good. Allison helped me work on a statement regarding the Montana State Library Commission's decision to leave the American Library Association. That is, while not unprecedented, the last time that sort of action happened by a state was when states in the South were against desegregation of the profession. Back in the 1950s, late 50s or 60s. So that sort of thing has happened before, but right now the State Library Commission has decided to leave the ALA because the current president identifies as a lesbian Marxist. So they're disagreeing with her political beliefs and her very public stance on her identity. The president of the American Library Association has very little impact on what the actual organization does. You know, it runs like a huge national corporation, and library workers vote in a new president every year. So that president doesn't really have a lot of impact on the work that the ALA does, to be honest. And yeah, what else? I mean, maybe you have questions about what the ALA does, but what we're hoping to do is make a statement about why this is undermines the profession, undermines equal access to information, undermines freedom of speech, which is what public libraries stand for.
Maybe Slavin, if you could speak to the impact that withdrawing will have on libraries and communities across the state.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it will be especially impactful for small rural and tribal libraries. So the American Library Association gives a lot of funding to states to disseminate throughout the state. So for example, a tribal librarian, I can't remember which one right now, I'm sorry, received $10,000 from the ALA through the State Library Commission for broadband access. So that library wouldn't have access to that information. Or that funding.
Thank you.
And all the information that would come with the broadband.
Exactly. Yeah, it's literal access to information that would be disrupted because of this decision. It's bad.
Yeah, I'm glad that we're speaking out. This is ridiculous. And I'm also glad that you pointed out there is historical precedent in this, and the folks at the state are walking in the proud footsteps of segregationists.
Exactly. And the public comment during the meeting for this was really got out of hand and definitely became a lot about gender and sexuality and the perception that library workers are disseminating pornography to children. So it was really disheartening.
Oh, that's so hard. Thank you. Yeah, thank you for writing this.
Yep.
Thank you.
And I'm glad we can do it.
Yep.
What are the chances of them reconsidering the decision?
They will reconsider after this president's term is up.
Okay.
But I can't imagine. I can't imagine them going back into the ALA considering all the things that were said during the meeting. So.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know if the state has talked about coming up with other ways to financially support the libraries who'll be losing funding because of this shift?
No, the state does provide other funding, but they have not come up with a plan for how they'll compensate for what is lost.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Slavin.
Yep, thanks.
Thanks, everyone.
Do we have anything else to discuss? All right, I guess we're done. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.